Prime News. This is Fox 17 News at 9, your Code Red station.
They just need to be reported to the proper legal officials.
It's going to create a lot of fear in the immigrant community.
New state law in Tennessee requires police to tell federal agents if they come across someone who is in our country illegally.
While supporters say that this is the right thing to do, critics say that it will cause more problems than it will solve. Fox 17 News' Karen Aguilar joining us live from the Capitol with both sides of this debate. Karen?
This law is creating plenty of controversy. A part of that is how or if it will be enforced. Law enforcement in Tennessee now must tell federal immigration authorities if they come across someone who's undocumented. This could mean people run the risk of being deported even for a traffic stop. This includes people who have been here for years.
And so our concern with this law is that it's going to create a lot of fear in the immigrant community.
Supporters of the law say this is all about safety.
So we've been seeing more and more cases where people are actually being assaulted, and some people even being killed by those undocumented individuals.
Immigration advocates say because the language is broad, the new law is targeting immigrant families.
I think it's going to discourage people from reporting crimes. I also think it increases the risk of profiling.
We're not trying to target anybody. We're trying to say that for every single person that is here, we want them to work on their legal citizenship, to do it through the proper channels.
Senator Pody says there was an amendment protecting a victim or a witness to a crime for this new law.
That they would be totally exempt from this.
Will there be enforcement of the new law? Metro Police sent us a statement saying in part they have no authority to enforce immigration laws. They will also not question someone's immigration status during routine duties. The Nashville's mayor's office did not say if they were on board with this new law or not, but it did say, however, that there will be no difference on how Metro Police conducts their work. Reporting live in front of the Capitol, Karen Aguilar, Fox 17 News, your Code Red station.
We want to know what you think. Do you agree that police should let federal authorities know when they come across someone who is undocumented? The numbers here on your screen. 264 people weighing in. 90.2% say yes, that they should let federal authorities know, compared to just 9.8% that say no. This poll is live right now. To cast your vote, you can scan the QR code on the screen there. It'll take you over to our X page. Our handle is @Fox Nashville if you'd like to weigh in and vote, and we'll show you updated poll results here a little later in the newscast.
And you shouldn't have to worry every time it rains that your stuff's going to float away.
Continuing coverage tonight on flooding issues in White House. This video tells a story. Homeowners tell us that because they have complained over and over again about what keeps happening and threatening their large investment, they feel they have nowhere else to turn but here. Fox 17 News' Caitlin Miller live in White House, where residents say their decades-long complaints just have not resulted in change.
Yes, well, tonight, Craig Underhill's yard looks a lot different than it did yesterday. Now, earlier today, the city was out here checking out this culvert behind me, trying to figure out what continues to cause this flooding when it rains.
This is looking straight across the street. As you can see, it looks like a lake.
This is what Craig Underhill's yard looked like Sunday in White House.
Same shot from my house. No grass to be seen.
Underhill says the water was up to his knees. The water made its way into his garage and damaged his 2 cars.
Those bags went in yesterday afternoon, and there's already maybe an inch in that bag.
Underhill says this type of flooding has happened about 6 times since he moved into his home 24 years ago. Underhill says the neighborhood has complained to the alderman and the city.
The people in charge over the years have told us over and over again they were going to do something and then come back and wouldn't do anything at all.
Todd Carpenter lives a few houses down and is fed up with the city too.
We don't have retention at the front end of this coming towards us. We don't have proper drainage underneath this ground here, as you can see behind me. Or we have a creek over here that's all bottlenecked somewhere.
Underhill adds they shouldn't have to live in fear every time it rains.
You shouldn't have to worry every time it rains that your stuff's going to float away. We're not on a floodplain. We can't even get insurance for it. It's absolutely a drainage issue.
A drainage issue they want resolved. And again, the city was out here today checking out this culvert behind me and the pipes. Now the neighbors are just hoping that they can find a solution so that they don't have to deal with this again. Reporting live from White House, I'm Caitlin Miller, Fox 17 News, your Code Red station.
All right, let's talk about the weather. Crazy thing, depending on where you were. Like those folks really got inches and inches, but other places, and you got rained on at the Speedway, but some people didn't get anything.
Some people got nothing. Yeah, and that's just kind of the pattern that we're going to be in, too, as we head on closer to the 4th as well. So this is going to be one of those things where just those summertime storms, you know, some people stay all dry, and then some people get a good bit of rain. So it all depends on where you're at and where these storms set up. Today, none of us really got any rain. It was all dry for us today, and it felt really good, too. Also, not that humid. 85 degrees here in Nashville. That was our high temperature for today. That was several degrees below normal for this time of year. Now we're at 75. Still a few clouds out there. Overall, though, nothing too bad for us at all. Live look over Broadway. A few folks out there. Good weather tonight if you have any late night plans for whatever reason tonight. No rain on the radar. Tennessee, Kentucky, it is all dry right now. Most of the southeastern part of the country is dry right now, too. This is a zoomed in view. That blue that you're seeing popping up right there at the end of that radar scan, that is not actually rainfall. That's just a little bit of clutter that's popping up on the radar. So all good as far as any rain goes. Temperatures right now, they're in the 70s for most locations. 75 down in Columbia. Same goes for Lewisburg. 74 in Murfreesboro. We're at 72 up there in Gallatin. Temperatures not too bad for us right now. They are going to get warmer, though, as we head on into tomorrow. It's about to get hotter. The humidity is also really going to start to build back in, especially starting on Wednesday. I'll let you know how hot it might feel starting Wednesday. And also a look at your Independence Day forecast. All those details coming up for you here in just a bit.
Well, tonight the Nashville International Airport will allow non-ticketed guests to go beyond the security gates. The airport just launched the BNA Passport. It's a free special ticket allowing you to go to airport restaurants, shops, and even greet loved ones in the gated areas.
I think it's aligned. It's aligned with our goals to get people through here. I think what's different is that we now have these beautiful art sculptures that people can see them, but maybe you can't go through and see all the other art. And some people just don't like to fly, but they like to plane watch.
Only 75 passes can be given out each day. Visitors must apply for a pass at least 24 hours in advance. Guests are required to comply with TSA security protocol.
Tennessee expands the death penalty.
Nearly 22 million children living in America rely on schools for their meals. Fox 17 News and our parent company, Sinclair Broadcasting, are partnering with Feed America for the Sinclair Cares Summer Hunger Relief Program. You can donate by scanning the QR code on your screen or go to sinclaircares.com.
Well, Tennessee now joins Florida, becoming the second state in the country to pass a new law giving prosecutors the option to seek the death penalty for convicted child rapists. That new law goes into effect today, but it won't be carried out anytime soon because the governor's moratorium is still in place, putting a pause on state executions.
Tennessee's oldest death row inmate, Oscar Smith, who was 72 at the time, woke up Thursday, April 21st, 2022, thinking it would be his last. He was preparing to order his final meal and face the execution for the 1989 murders of his wife and 2 children. It was the first of 5 executions scheduled that year, but while receiving communion just moments before his 7 p.m. execution, Governor Bill Lee called the whole thing off, issuing a death penalty moratorium and launching a third-party review and investigation into lethal injection protocols and procedures, after learning the Department of Corrections did not conduct required testing of the drugs.
This was a very appropriate thing for Governor Lee to do, and I don't think those questions have been resolved yet. Until they do resolve those questions, I wouldn't expect to see executions resume.
Tennessee death row inmates sued the state. Court records revealed noncompliance in lethal injection protocols, from the manufacturing of the drugs in the pharmacy to testing procedures and storage and handling within the department. It led to concerns over botched executions.
What we know is that many of these executions resulted in unusual pain and suffering for the person who was being executed. And that's something that is absolutely unconstitutional under our current law.
While executions remain on hold, a new law now in effect makes sure convicted child rapists are eligible to receive the ultimate punishment, but it's attached to controversy.
It's a victory for all Tennesseans because it will act as a deterrent, and hopefully anyone who would stoop to that level and commit such a horrible, heinous crime will think better of it, knowing that they could ultimately be subject to the death penalty.
First of all, we know that death penalty is not a deterrent to crimes. It's just absolutely not. It has never been a deterrent. The reality is we are re-traumatizing victims when we subject them to appeal after appeal after appeal. These folks will be off the streets for life.
Tennessee now joins Florida as the only two states that can sentence convicted child rapists to death. Florida criminal defense attorney Mark O'Mara, best known for his role in the Trayvon Martin case, is opposed to the new law for many reasons.
And I'll give you an example. In Florida, the Florida Supreme Court spends more than a third of their time, sometimes as much as half of their time, on death penalty issues. So now, if you look at it that way and take half of the entire budget of the Florida Supreme Court and assign it over to death penalty work, which is what they have to do, it's an enormous amount of taxpayer burden.
Opponents say a life in prison sentence is more suitable and affordable. O'Mara says it costs taxpayers approximately $20,000 per inmate per year. The average length of a life sentence is roughly 40 years, so an average life sentence adds up to about $800,000 per inmate. If it's a death row inmate, that cost goes up exponentially. After you factor in the cost of the appeals process, it comes out to anywhere between $7 and $12 million per inmate. Those that helped pass this law say it's worth every penny.
It's a victory for Tennessee, and it's certainly a victory for victims of these horrific crimes.
In business news tonight, what could be some tough news for small businesses in South Nashville. Some of them. The owner of Plaza Mariachi filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection in the federal courts. The creditor reportedly called the loan asking for it to be paid back in full now. Late last month, Fox 17 News talked to several small businesses located in the complex. They worry they may be forced to relocate. It's not easy because rents everywhere are high. Plaza Mariachi's owner filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, asking the courts for time to restructure the debt.
Well, hopefully you were able to get outside and enjoy today, especially if you don't like the high heat and high humidity, because once we hit tomorrow, the heat's going to start to bump up, and then by Wednesday, the humidity is really going to start to kick in more too. We're going to have dew point temperatures, I think, going probably into the lower 70s or so. That basically just means how much moisture is in the air. The higher the number, the more moisture you have in the air and the more humid it's going to feel. And whenever you get into that 70 mark and above, you can just really start to feel that humidity out there. 75 degrees, our current temperature right here in Nashville. A pretty calm night for us on Broadway. Not having to worry about any sort of rainfall either. Radar loop from over the past few hours showing all dry conditions across most of the southeastern part of the country. All of Tennessee and all of Kentucky is dry right now too. Current zoomed in view, still again not seeing anything on the radar map at all right now. As we go on through the overnight hours, we're going to stay dry, a few clouds, but still mostly clear skies through the overnight hours. Tomorrow morning, this is tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock. I think we're off to a dry start. We're going to stay dry throughout the rest of the day. Mostly sunny to partly sunny, depending on where you're at. Some of these clouds will be moving in, just some broken cloud coverage. Wednesday morning, we're off to a dry start Wednesday morning. Wednesday afternoon, we could just see some very isolated storms pop up. A lot of us, though, on Wednesday, we'll be staying on the dry side, but then late Wednesday, this is 5 p.m., but fast forward a few more hours into about 10 p.m. Wednesday night, we could see some of those showers and storms begin to drop down into our more northwestern areas. So this is going to be for our counties in far southwest Kentucky, also our south central counties in southern Kentucky too. We could see a few thunderstorms develop there. That's from about 10 o'clock p.m. to Thursday morning around 2 o'clock a.m. or so. Right now, the Storm Prediction Center does have a little sliver of that area in that level 1 risk, that shade of green right there. Again, this is for Wednesday night and the very early Thursday morning. A few of those storms might try to get strong. I think some strong wind gusts will be the main concern with a couple of those storms, though. As we head on into 4th of July, this is Thursday, July 4th. By noon, I think we'll see a chance for some showers and thunderstorms. We'll keep that scatter scattered chance around as we go through the rest of the afternoon hours and into the earlier part of the evening. I do think that we get a little bit of a break in the rain, though, once we hit late Thursday evening. So Thursday night, I think we should be drying out for at least some of these locations before another round of showers and storms moves in on a Friday. But those of you that do see the rain on Thursday during the afternoon and early evening hours, this is not going to be any sort of washout. It's not going to be everybody that gets the rain, just very scattered pop-up shower and thunderstorm activity as we head through Independence Day. And again, some of that rain will carry on over into Friday as well. I'll have that 7-day forecast coming up for you here in just a little bit.
The Supreme Court dealing a major blow to the election subversion case against former President Trump. I'm Atra El-Nashar in Washington with how this changes Trump's legal troubles.
Hey there, I'm Fox 17 News This Morning anchor Erica Glover, and the 4th of July just 3 days away, which means millions of Americans are gearing up, including
U.S. Supreme Court makes a ruling today impacting current and former and future presidents.
And it has immediate ramifications for the January 6th case against former President Trump. As Fox 17 News' Atra El-Nashar explains, there is an impact. And by the way, you can vote on this issue by scanning the QR code that will appear here shortly on your screen during this story.
In a 6-3 decision, the conservative majority of the Supreme Court delivered former President Trump a partial victory in his fight against federal conspiracy and obstruction charges over his actions on and leading up to January 6th. They write, under our system of separated powers, the president may not be prosecuted for exercising his core constitutional powers, and he is entitled to at least presumptive immunity from prosecution for his official acts. That immunity applies equally to all occupants of the Oval Office, sending the case back down to the district court.
The trial judge in this case, Judge Chutkan, is going to have to sort out what's an official act, what's an unofficial act, what part of this indictment has to be thrown out, what can stay in it, and that's going to take time.
Trump reacting on Truth Social. Big win for our Constitution and democracy, proud to be an American.
If Trump wins the election, he can tell his attorney general to fire the special counsel Jack Smith, and both the January 6 charges and the classified documents case would go away.
The 3 liberal-appointed justices dissent from the majority's opinion, saying it will have disastrous consequences for the presidency and for our democracy. Writing, it makes a mockery of the principle, foundational to our Constitution and system of government, that no man is above the law. They point out President Gerald Ford pardoned Richard Nixon for misusing his official power to obstruct the FBI's Watergate investigation. Proof both men understood a president is liable for criminal activity. The court's decision raises questions about what future presidents can get away with. Justice Sotomayor writes, orders the Navy's SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political rival, immune. Organizes a military coup to hold on to power, immune. Takes a bribe in exchange for a pardon, immune. Immune, immune, immune. This decision essentially guarantees that a trial in the election subversion case will not happen before Election Day. The classified documents case and the Georgia election subversion case are each on hold for different reasons. As for the Manhattan hush money case, the former president will be sentenced on July 11th. In Washington, I'm Atra El-Nashar.
During that story, we had a QR code with a poll asking the question, do you agree with the Supreme Court's decision that presidents have absolute immunity from prosecution for official acts? The results right there on your screen. 537 people weighing in tonight, 70.2% of respondents say.
Back now with more on our top story. The U.S. Supreme Court leaving its largest opinion for last, deciding that former President Donald Trump does have some immunity for his role in the January 6th riot. The opinion split 6-3, with Chief Justice John Roberts writing the majority opinion. Joining us now to help break down that opinion, Nashville attorney David Rabin. David, first, before anything else, were you surprised by this decision?
No, because it was a very narrow ruling and they split between official and unofficial acts, and so it was logical, and I was not surprised by the decision.
Now, the ruling, as you laid out, states that there's a difference for a sitting president, that he can't be held accountable for official acts, but can be held accountable for private acts. What, in your mind, is Mr. Trump now off the hook for, if you would?
Well, that's the question. The case was remanded back to the district court to find out what actions he's charged with factually, to parse out those things that are within the purview of his official act as a president, as opposed to unofficial things. So if he was discussing things with the vice president, having conversations with the vice president and other things, certainly that's within the purview of being the president of the United States. If he's fomenting a riot or he's fomenting people to go and attack the Capitol, that's certainly outside the scope of official acts, and he could be prosecuted. So the big question is going to be, what are official acts and what are unofficial? I mean, if he had, let's just say hypothetically, assaulted somebody in the middle of the street or something like that, unquestionably, he doesn't enjoy immunity for that. But if he acts something, makes a speech as his role as the president of the United States, that is within the purview. So it's a narrow decision. And when you say it lets him off the hook, not completely, it just goes back for more proceedings.
Sure, and the lower court has a big role here. Now, for his part, Chief Justice John Roberts has identified himself as a minimalist. Did he write an opinion as a minimalist in a way that's going to stand the test of time and really be used as a measuring stick for presidential actions moving forward?
Yes, I think so. It was a good decision, and he just made it a very tight ruling that the president does enjoy immunity. Because think about it, you could have some prosecutor somewhere indict the president of the United States for some specious thing and potentially put him in jail or something like this, and directly interfere with the operation of government. This is not that different from the case with when Clinton was sued. They said he enjoyed immunity for acts while he was president, but not for after. So it's a very narrow decision. I think it's a good decision that'll stand the test of time. And I realize that there was a lot of debate about it, but you can't give him total immunity for everything that he does, nor should he be prosecuted for everything that he does, because then that would impair the president, who is, at the end of the day, there's only one. So I think it was a good decision.
I know this is a hard question, but where do you think the prosecution goes from here? Do you think they walk away from parts of it on their own, or they forge ahead and wait for the lower courts to decide?
Well, they're going to have to go back to the lower court. They can't just throw in the towel on this and that. I'm sure they're going to fight tooth and tongue for everything that they can, every count. There's multiple charges here. They may agree that certain things have to be. But the prosecutor are participants in the lower court. It's just not up to the lower court to decide. There are going to be more proceedings and more hearings in the lower court to drill down into the facts, to use Justice Roberts' decision as a guidepost as to what it's going to be. But certainly I can tell you this, it's not going to be tried before the election. I mean, that whatever happens will be after the new election. And we'll see what happens there.
Sure, that's a key point. National Attorney David Rabin, thank you for your time and your insights on this ruling.
Sure, of course. Thank you.
New tonight, President Biden is not backing the Supreme Court's decision.
The American people deserve to have an answer in the courts before the upcoming election. The public has a right to know the answer about what happened on January 6th before they are asked to vote again this year. Now, because of today's decision, that is highly, highly unlikely. It's a terrible disservice to the people of this nation.
Because of today's Supreme Court ruling, former President Trump's lawyers have asked the New York judge who presided over his hush money trial to set aside his conviction. They want to delay his sentencing scheduled for later this month. A jury convicted the former president on 34 counts of falsifying business records to keep quiet about an alleged affair.
And we had a beautiful day right here, so I'm just going to spend a little bit of time talking about Hurricane Beryl, giving you an update on this. Right now, it's still a Category 4 hurricane, maximum winds of 155 miles per hour. That's just 2 mile an hour shy of making it a Category 5 hurricane. So still a very, very strong storm. Right now, it is still over in the Caribbean Sea, and it's going to keep on moving on this easterly track, passing north of the Venezuela coast. But as it keeps on moving a little bit further to the east, once it gets a little bit south of Jamaica and south of Cuba, I think it should start to weaken into about a Category 2 storm. So it's not going to stay this strong for a whole lot longer, but we still have another day or two probably of it still maintaining that Category 3 or Category 4 strength. 93 degrees, our forecast high temperature for us here in Nashville tomorrow. Average high is 90 this time of year. It's going to be warmer than what we had today. Today was a really nice day. Humidity wasn't terrible for this time of year at all. We were also a few degrees below normal for this time of year too. Wednesday, we start to bump that back up though. 97 on Wednesday, 96 on Independence Day. It is going to be a hot one for us, and we are going to get humid too, especially by the time we hit Wednesday. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, it's going to be very humid here. Combine that with the high actual air temperature, it's going to be just hot and humid any way you slice it as we head through the middle and end of the week. We'll also be talking about that chance for showers and thunderstorms. Could see a little bit of that on the 4th. Might even see some of that continue on over into Friday. More details coming up on all that here in just a little bit.
Also, in entertainment news, a local contestant making an appearance on Name That Tune tonight on Fox in prime time. And joining us now, Julie Penix, the contestant. Julie, before we get into how you did on the show and everything, what did you do in terms of musical knowledge, or did you possess to be able to pull this off?
Well, I'm a music enthusiast, so I have a background in just listening to music. And, you know, back in the 80s, I would just record music on my ghetto blaster as a child and had fun with it.
Oh, that's great. Now listen, I wonder, did you do anything to prepare, like go over, because it's one thing to think I know all the words, but did you look at a bunch of lyrics and the actual, or, you know, songs and go down the list so you could kind of familiarize yourself with the lyrics?
Well, I'm competitive, so I went on iTunes and I created lists and listened to every genre that I can think of. There's some genres that I'm better than others, but for those that I am not as great at, I went and did a little bit of research.
What did you think you were good at? What's your strong suit?
Okay. My strong suit's probably 80s music, alternative 80s music.
Oh, that's cool. I listened to 80s on the way in. They were playing, you know, some of the top songs on 80s on 8. Now, was there a strategy? You know, thought, all right, if I get to this point, you know, I'm going to take the money, I'm not going to be greedy. Or did you go in saying, hey, I came in with nothing, I'm going to go for broke? What was your thoughts?
Well, if you make a mistake, it's over. And so my idea was just to not make a mistake.
Did you have fun? Did this make you think, man, I want to try to get on some other game show, or is this like it for your life? I'm finished, I've done this.
I had a lot of fun. That was the best part, you know. I really competitive, I think, going back to that. And so I had a lot of fun, and I would absolutely do it again.
What, I guess, category gave you the most trouble where you had to use some of your lifelines and things of that nature?
Probably country music was hard for me. Yeah.
Now, did you feel bad? Because, I mean, they probably said on the show, you know, she's from Nashville, even though you're right from outside. But not everybody's into country music.
Ironically enough, yeah. I'm from Nashville, and country music was the harder one for me.
Oh, that's fun. Well, we're tickled to have somebody representing, you know, Middle Tennessee on the show. I'm so glad you got to do it. Julie Penix, thank you for representing Music City, and thank you for coming in studio and visiting with us.
Thank you.
Oh, she was a lot of fun. Now, Julie didn't win the big money tonight, but she didn't go home empty-handed either. She made it to the Golden Medley round, failed to get any of the right answers there, going home with $23,000. Good showing.
Policing the police. Community groups say it's even harder in Tennessee after a state law took the teeth out of the community oversight boards. Now a whistleblower says higher-ups in Metro Police work to make this law a reality. This even after 135,000 Nashvillians voted in favor of creating the oversight board.
You believe they helped craft the actual language?
Yes, and it may not be necessarily everything, but key parts of it, because now they're basically able to tell the CRB to go pound sand.
Fox 17 News investigates the possible fallout and what the Metro Police Department has to say about the allegations. Tuesday on Fox 17 News at 9.
Today was an awesome day. It's about to...
Well, the Biden administration is aiming for half of all new vehicle sales to be electric by the year 2030.
But that is a pretty tall order. Fox 17 News' Mark Hyman tonight shows us why in tonight's Inside Your World investigates.
It was a 56 Ford, new Ford, custom line.
Jack Fitzgerald remembers the first car he sold. Nearly 70 years later, he won't even guess at how many he sold at his nearly 3 dozen dealerships. He's certain it's a lot. Fitzgerald has sold just about every car make and model, including electric vehicles. Does he think America will hit President Biden's 50% EV new car sales goal by 2030?
No, there's no chance of that.
Fitzgerald is among the 5,000 car dealers that signed letters urging the White House to pump the brakes on proposed regulations mandating EV sales. Among their concerns, he told us, was the lack of charging capacity.
The grid's not prepared to charge all those cars.
By grid, he means the nation's electrical power grid and enough charging ports to eliminate range anxiety.
Well, range anxiety is people get into an electric car and they're concerned about where's my next station do I plug into.
There may be no bigger cheerleader for EVs in America than Bob Gallion. He was the lead battery engineer for General Motors' short-lived EV1, the nation's first mass-produced electric vehicle that debuted in 1996, before EVs entered the mainstream. It turns out America was not ready for electric cars back then. Is it reasonable for us to achieve a 50% sales goal in the next 6 years?
I don't believe it is.
Sales price is another key obstacle to consumer adoption. EVs cost a bundle. A comparison of identical cars found EVs cost more to purchase than the gas counterpart. Chinese imports are not the solution for price-conscious consumers. In May, President Biden doubled the price of Chinese-built EVs when he announced a 100% tariff on them. Internal Toyota documents obtained by Inside Your World claim the amount of critical minerals used to build a single EV can be used to manufacture 6 plug-in hybrids or 90 hybrids like a Toyota Prius. Both versions of hybrids can be powered by gas or battery. However, the president's executive order does not count hybrids toward the 50% EV sales goal. That doesn't matter, Fitzgerald told us. The public will only buy cars they want. After peaking last year, EV sales have since stalled. Still, he believes America's automobile future will be a combination of gas, EV, and hybrids.
You know, the people that write those rules don't have to sell the cars.
For Inside Your World Investigates, I'm Mark Hyman in Washington, D.C.
Now, toward this end, earlier this year, more than 5,000 U.S. auto dealers co-signed a letter to the White House opposing federal regulations that are mandating EV sales. They say customers like you have concerns, including affordability, which was mentioned, charging stations, performance in cold weather, and resale value.
All right, we've got Brett in for Katie tonight, and a whole lot of the same.
A lot more of the same. You know, I think we get another day of kind of good weather tomorrow, but then just that typical summertime pattern, we are right back into it. Showers and thunderstorms during the afternoon, and that's just going to be the name of the game as we head through at least the middle part of the week and even into the start of the weekend, too. I do think Saturday that rain chance does start to come down a little bit for us. Live look over Broadway, a calm night. If you have any outdoor plans tonight, it's going to feel good. It felt great for you if you had anything going on outside earlier today, too. We were below normal for this time of year. 85 was our high. We're now 10 degrees off of that. 75 our current temperature right here in Nashville, but it was not that humid, all things considered, for us earlier today, but it is about to start to get more humid as we head on into the middle part of the week, especially Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Radar is still not showing any sort of rain right here across Tennessee or Kentucky, and I think it's going to stay like that as we go through the rest of the night, too. We're going to stay dry, not expecting any rain chance, really. As we head on into Tuesday afternoon, I think we're going to stay dry throughout the day on Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, more of the same, dry Wednesday morning. A little bit later, though, in the afternoon, but this is the noon picture right here. This model does try to bring in just a couple of isolated showers and thunderstorms. That's just going to be very isolated throughout the day on Wednesday. Most areas are going to stay on the dry side of things throughout most of Wednesday. Later on Wednesday night, this is 10 p.m. Wednesday night, we'll start to see some of these isolated showers and thunderstorms try to work their way up into some of our counties up there in southern Kentucky, and it's just basically going to be that diagonal line of those until about 2 p.m. or 2 a.m. Thursday morning. So from 10 p.m. Wednesday night to 2 a.m. Thursday morning, a few of those storms that develop in that area, basically our southern counties right here in Kentucky that are highlighted in that shade of green, these do have the chance to maybe get just a little bit strong, could produce some strong gusty winds. I think that's going to be the main thing with some of those storms if they can get strong. Again, that is Wednesday night into very early Thursday morning up there in our far southwestern Kentucky counties. Thursday morning, 6 a.m., this is Independence Day, so for the 4th, I think we are looking at some scattered showers and thunderstorms. This is going to just be that scattered activity that we get down here in the summertime. Not everybody's going to see the rain, I don't think. There will be definitely breaks in the rain, too, so just some scattered, we'll call them pop-up showers and thunderstorms as we go throughout the day on Thursday. I think the best chance for that is going to be Thursday afternoon into the earlier part of the evening. We could get a little bit of a break, though, for Thursday night, so that's going to be good for any of the fireworks. And then as we go on into Friday morning, another round around is going to move through. More showers and a few thunderstorms will be possible for us as we head throughout the rest of the day on Friday, and we'll carry about a 20% chance over or so as we head into the start of the weekend. 64 your low temperature tonight, mostly clear skies, and your 7-day forecast hot Wednesday and Thursday, 97 on Wednesday. Humidity is also going to be up there on Wednesday too. No heat advisories in effect just yet, but I think it's likely the National Weather Service will get those issued for Wednesday pretty soon, probably. 96 on Thursday, back to the lower 90s Friday.
Thanks for the rundown there, Brett. Still to come.
In the economy tonight, vacations can be expensive, but that's not stopping some people from wanting to go. Get this, more than a third of Americans, that is 1 in 3, say they are willing to go into debt in order to pay for their summer vacation. Get this, around a quarter, about 25%, say they plan to use a credit card to pay for this trip over the course of multiple billing cycles. A lot of extra interest there. Americans also plan to buy now, pay later, use those services, personal loans, even borrowing from friends and family to fund their vacation. Millennials and Gen Zers the most likely to say they're going into debt or willing to do that to go on a trip. A senior credit card industry analyst says that the average credit card right now averages are near a record high.
In Operation Crime and Justice, some new Tennessee laws designed to improve public safety go into effect today, including ones impacting how bail is set for defendants. Republican Representative William Lamberth sponsored a new law making the first consideration to be public safety when imposing bail conditions along with setting bond. Now, it doesn't take away the other conditions, like if a person would be a flight risk or if they would show up to court. But looking back at times when an alleged defendant commits another crime following being let out on bond, this would ensure that community safety aspect.
What we've sent is a very clear message to the judicial branch. We want you to prioritize community safety. That should be the #1 thing. We are also ensuring that every single right of every single defendant is being protected as they're going through the criminal justice system, but we can do that with putting a priority on community safety.
Now, this law combined with another law sponsored by Lamberth will make it a misdemeanor if you fail to adhere to bond conditions. And another new law keeps judges from considering the affordability of bail before they set it, because they can no longer ask defendants if they can pay their bond.
Looking ahead to Thursday now, as a lot of folks around here will celebrate 4th of July on the water.
Well, tonight, safety agencies want to remind you boating under the influence is just as dangerous as driving under the influence. Multiple law enforcement agencies are working together for Operation Dry Water. They'll be patrolling area lakes and rivers, looking out for people who may be under the influence of alcohol, and they warn that you should too.
Everybody needs to be responsible, have their head on a swivel. There's no lanes out there when we're talking about, on the Cumberland River, Percy Priest, Old Hickory, on the waterways. So, you have to be aware of who's around you and maintain a safe speed and just be careful.
And they also want to remind you to make sure you've got enough life jackets on board for everyone on your boat.
This is Fox 17 News at 10, your Code Red station.
We need to make the steps to keep our citizens as safe as we possibly can.
There's no way it can't be targeted toward immigrant families.
In Operation Crime and Justice, pushback over a new state law that requires local police to notify the feds if they come in contact with illegal immigrants.
Well, the big debate, I should say tonight, is over how this law should be enforced. Fox 17 News' Karen Aguilar live downtown near the state capitol after speaking with stakeholders on both sides of this.
People behind this law say it will keep us safe. Critics say undocumented immigrants are now living in fear. They say the fear comes from racial profiling. That's according to immigration advocates. They believe police will stop people in the black and brown communities more because of it. Tennessee Senator Mark Pody says this is a necessary law to protect citizens, especially when illegal immigrants commit violent crimes.
So we've been seeing more and more cases where people are actually being assaulted and some people even being killed by those undocumented individuals.
I think you will see challenges because I think there is really no way that this can be applied without targeting specific communities and specific ethnicities and races.
Metro Police tells Fox 17 News they have no authority to enforce this law. They also say they won't question someone's immigration status during routine duties. The Nashville mayor's office did not tell us if they support enforcing this new law or not. Reporting live in front of the Capitol, Karen Aguilar, Fox 17 News, your Code Red station.
Earlier in our newscast, we told you about our X poll that's live right now, asking the question, do you agree that police should let federal authorities know when they come across someone who is undocumented? 333 votes have come in, and it looks like 89.8% say yes, 10.2% say no. Each night, look for a brand new poll on our X page that you can participate in. Thanks for voting.
It's incredibly frustrating because early on, I lost some irreplaceable stuff from, my childhood.
Continuing coverage tonight as folks in White House turn to Fox 17 News for help with recurring flooding that's threatening their homes. They say it's been happening for decades now, and city leaders just are not taking the problem seriously. Fox 17 News' Caitlin Miller now in White House with more on their frustrations tonight.
Take a look at what Craig Underhill's yard looked like on Sunday. Underhill says the water was up to his knees and he could not see the grass at all. He says the water went into his garage and damaged cars. He says this has been going on for 24 years, the entire time he's lived in his home. Underhill says he and his neighbors have gone to the city several times and they're extremely frustrated.
You shouldn't have to worry every time it rains that your stuff's going to float away. We're not on a floodplain. We can't even get insurance for it. It's absolutely a drainage issue.
Underhill emphasizes they've gone to the alderman and city, but their problem still has not been resolved.
In your business news tonight, growing concerns for some South Nashville small businesses. Plaza Mariachi filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. According to those behind Plaza Mariachi, its lender asked for its loan to be paid back in full. The Plaza says it's filing Chapter 11, which will help the company restructure its debt. Late last month, Fox 17 News talked to small businesses who called the South Nashville site home. They're worried about losing their locations.
Looking ahead to Thursday now, when some of you will celebrate the 4th of July on the water, great rivers and lakes in these parts. Law enforcement agencies will be working together to make things out there on the water as safe as they can. One of their focuses will be people boating under the influence. Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency says taking drugs or drinking alcohol while piloting a boat is selfish and puts your life at risk along with others. They say that Operation Dry Water will tackle that issue.
So we're going to be out there in groves, obviously, making sure that we don't have impaired operators on the water. And if we do have impaired operators on the water, we will be arresting those individuals and taking them to jail.
Operation Dry Water will run from the 4th of July, which is Thursday, through July the 6th.
Another really nice day for us right here in Nashville today. Temperatures weren't near as bad as they could be for this time of year, but it is about to get a lot hotter as we head on into the next several days. So hopefully, if you don't like this high heat and high humidity, you're able to get out there today and enjoy it, because it's about to get hotter and it's also about to get more humid too, very humid as we hit the middle part of the week starting around Wednesday. Here's your live look over Broadway. A pretty calm night out there right now. Great weather if you have any plans late tonight. 10:05 the current time. It's 74 degrees here in Nashville right now, and still not seeing any rain anywhere close to us. It is still all dry across all of Tennessee and Kentucky right now, and it's going to stay like that as we go through the rest of the night too. No rain chance for us for tonight, and I think tomorrow it's going to stay all dry as well. Temperatures are in the 60s and 70s depending on where you're at. Some mid 60s out east, 66 Cookeville, 65 in Crossville. We're at 72 down in Murfreesboro, 69 in Dickson, and then Clarksville coming in right at 70. So overall tonight temperatures aren't terrible, and then tomorrow we are going to start to warm up though, and we're going to warm up pretty quickly too. We were in the mid 80s today. We're going to get to the lower 90s tomorrow, and it's only going to get hotter as we head on into Wednesday and the 4th of July. The humidity is going to be coming back for us as well, especially starting around Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It'll be very hot and humid. Heat advisories aren't in effect for right now, but those will likely be coming as we get closer to Saturday. Also going to be talking about 4th of July thoughts here in just a little bit.
Tonight, a new hurdle for former President Donald Trump's election interference case. The Supreme Court rules that Mr. Trump cannot be charged with anything that he did in his official capacity as president.
And as Fox News' Connor Hansen reports, the High Court's ruling fell along ideological lines.
On the final day of its term, the Supreme Court handed down a blockbuster ruling, not only affecting Donald Trump, but possibly all former and future presidents, whether they can be prosecuted for things they did while in office.
In one of the biggest cases of the year over whether presidents can be prosecuted, the Supreme Court dealt Donald Trump a victory and complicated special counsel Jack Smith's election interference case, ruling 6-3 that former presidents are granted broad protections for official acts taken while in office. A decision Trump celebrated on Truth Social as, quote, a big win for our Constitution and democracy.
The special counsel was arguing, as with the lower court, that there was very little immunity.
Chief Justice John Roberts wrote for the majority, saying the president is not above the law, but, quote, may not be prosecuted for exercising his core constitutional powers. In the dissent, Justice Sonia Sotomayor argued the decision, quote, makes a mockery of the principle foundational to our Constitution and system of government that no man is above the law. The case now heads back to the lower court to decide what actions in Smith's indictment can be classified as official duties.
They've essentially created a hierarchy.
Many Democrats are blasting the ruling, with Senator Richard Blumenthal calling the court out of control and saying it makes his stomach turn.
The former president now awaits sentencing in his New York hush money trial after a jury convicted him on 34 felony counts. That's scheduled to happen next week. In Washington, Connor Hansen, Fox News.
Now, for his part, President Biden criticized the High Court's ruling on presidential immunity, saying in essence it means there's virtually no limits on a president's actions.
And it's a dangerous precedent because the power of the office will no longer be constrained by the law, even including the Supreme Court of the United States. The only limits will be self-imposed by the president alone.
The Supreme Court sent special counsel Jack Smith's election interference case back down to a lower federal district court to determine which parts of the indictment against Mr. Trump can move forward.
The president's family is telling him to stay in the race, while some other Democrats are openly worried. I'm Matt Gelka in Washington, and I'll have the story coming up.
Celebrating the red, white, and blue could put your budget in the red. Which items will cost you more for that holiday cookout?
And I'll also have more about what the weather is going to be like for your 4th of July plans, talk about that rain chance, and also just how hot it's going to be. Those details in just a bit.
Nearly 22 million children living in America rely on schools for their meals. Fox 17 News and our parent company, Sinclair Broadcasting, are partnering with Feed America for the Sinclair Cares Summer Hunger Relief Program. You can donate by scanning the QR code on your screen or go to sinclaircares.com.
Kind of feels like everyone's trying to copy the $5 biggie bag. So how can you spot a knockoff? It won't taste like Wendy's. This job is easy. When the deal is as fresh as the meal, gotta be Wendy's.
Gotta be fresh. In May were 74% of those pre-pandemic. That's up from 70% a year ago, showing a slow but steady return to in-person work. Meanwhile, outdoor retailer Patagonia warning some employees to relocate or lose their jobs. The company told 90 remote workers to move closer to one of its 7 main offices by September 30th or find another gig.
All of this remote work, all it's going to do is slow economic growth over time. People need to come together.
I saw it on TikTok. My daughter said it's the best Sammy you'll ever have.
And pickle mania is taking over New York. The pickle bun sandwich is going super viral on social media and selling like hotcakes at places like Seven Brothers Gourmet on Long Island.
It's crunchy, it's salty, it's refreshing.
That's business. CJ Papa, Fox News.
In politics tonight, President Biden showing at last week's debate, causing anxiety for Democrats across the country.
As Fox 17 News' Matt Galka explains, the president's campaign is trying to calm nerves and push forward.
Folks, I know I'm not a young man, but I know how to do this job.
Joe Biden's campaign out with a new ad Monday, leaning into the president's energy at a rally the day after his disastrous debate performance.
When you get knocked down, you get back up.
Biden spent the weekend with his family as the hot takes urging him to exit the race piled up. Democrats acknowledged it's been tough going since Thursday night.
So this makes it a difficult situation for everybody, but there are very honest and serious and rigorous conversations taking place at every level of our party.
White House aides told Axios the 81-year-old president is sharpest between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. Meanwhile, his family reportedly united behind an effort to have him stay in the race. Some of his strongest support came from his son Hunter, and his wife Jill told Vogue they will not let those 90 minutes define the 4 years he's been president.
Everything we have to do with
Republicans are trying to capitalize on the Democrat hand-wringing in down-ballot races, tying Democrat incumbents to Biden's poor debate performance. A post-debate CBS poll showed 72% of people didn't think Biden had the mental and cognitive health to serve as president. His allies are publicly backing him while shifting some of the blame.
Yes, it was a bad performance. I've been around these things. I've been a part of debate preparation before, and I know when I see what I call preparation overload. And that's exactly what was going on the other night.
Biden has also tried to reassure skittish donors that he does have what it takes to stay in the race. He hit fundraisers in the Hamptons and New Jersey over the weekend and has another one scheduled in Virginia this week. Reporting in Washington, I'm Matt Gelka.
Well, if you are manning the grill this 4th of July, and I know a lot of folks will be, you can expect a higher grocery bill. The American Farm Bureau Federation reports the average cost of a cookout for 10 people this year is a little more than $71. So if you're going to the grocery, expect to spend $71 on average for that stuff. The meat's going to take the biggest chunk out of your wallet this year. 2 pounds of ground beef now roughly costs 11% more than it did at this same time last year. Meanwhile, the cost of pork chops, if you decide to go that rate, that's up to 8%. Not quite as much, but still up quite a bit. Now, while the only thing that you could possibly save money on, chicken, the cookout staple that's going to cost less this year, prices of chicken right now are down about 4% from where they stood at this same time a year ago.
In sports, the women's USA Olympic gymnastics team set following 2 days of trials. The 5 gymnasts to represent America during the Paris Olympics are Jordan Chiles, Suni Lee, Jade Carey, Hesley Rivera, and Simone Biles, with 2 alternates, Leanne Wong and Jocelyn Roberson. 16-year-old newcomer Rivera joins the other 4 women who competed in the 2020 Olympics, and 27-year-old Biles will lead the team in her 3rd Olympics. She will be the oldest American woman gymnast to compete in 72 years.
Today was just another really nice day for us. Tomorrow's going to be pretty good too, but we are going to start to warm up as we head on into tomorrow. And then for the 4th, I think it's going to be a pretty warm one for us this year. Today, though, again, felt great. Still feels pretty good out there right now too. If you have any outdoor plans, it's going to be a good night for you on this Monday night. 74 degrees, that's our current temperature right here in Nashville. There's still some cloud cover out there too, and we're going to stay like that as we head through the rest of the night. Dry and overall just pretty good conditions for us. No rain popping up right there on the radar across Tennessee or up into Kentucky either. So through the overnight hours, I think we're all dry. Not expecting any sort of rain chance for us for tonight. Moving on into tomorrow morning, we're going to be dry to start it out too. Dry through the rest of the day. Here's 5 p.m. A lot of areas I think will be mostly sunny by about 5 p.m. or so. It's just really going to depend on where you're at. Parts of it mostly sunny. Other parts of us should see partly sunny skies as we head throughout the day tomorrow. Starting out Wednesday morning off to a dry start, but a little bit later on in the day, we could see just a few isolated showers and thunderstorms try to develop with the help of that daytime heating. I think the main rain chance is just going to be for kind of a small area up here, our counties in southern Kentucky, and then maybe right up there in northern portions of Henry County too. We could see a few isolated showers and thunderstorms develop. That's 10 p.m. right there, and fast forward just a few more hours until about 2 a.m. or so early Thursday morning. We could just be seeing that little line set up right there, mainly in our counties in southern Kentucky. A couple of those storms might try to get strong during that time frame. I think really the only concern that we'll have to deal with that, though, again, maybe just one or two of those storms, nothing widespread at all. But we could see a couple of those storms try to produce some strong wind gusts for late Wednesday night on into early Thursday morning. Thursday is Independence Day, so July 4th is shaping up to be a little bit of a rainy one, depending on where you're at. These are going to be scattered showers and thunderstorms that we get throughout the afternoon hours and early evening hours on the 4th. This is not going to be an all-day long sort of thing, I don't think, and also not everybody's going to see the rainfall. Just very scattered activity. I think the best chance, though, for the rain will come during the afternoon hours and the earlier part of the evening. By late evening, I think we start to clear out a little bit, so that's going to be good news for any of the fireworks. But then a little bit after that, moving on into Friday morning, another round will come through. So Friday is looking a little bit rainy, too. There will be a decent chance for some more showers and thunderstorms as we go throughout the day on Friday. Forecast for tonight, I think we're going to be down to the mid-60s. Mostly clear skies for us tonight. Mostly clear to partly cloudy, depending on where you're at. Tomorrow, we're going to start out partly cloudy, too, by 7 o'clock, upper 60s, upper 80s by noon, and then by 5 p.m., we should be in the lower 90s. 7-day forecast still warm for the next few days. 97 on Wednesday. That's going to be the hottest day. No heat advisories in place just yet, but would not be surprised if heat advisories get issued for Wednesday.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
Watch this. A time-lapse captures clouds rolling into southern New Mexico, opening up and unleashing an incredible downpour. The storm system caused flash flooding, power outages, and damaged several homes. As expected, the northern lights were visible Friday night. These images come from Montana. And this peaceful sunrise was spotted this morning not far from South Bend, Indiana.
For more content,
your works.
In international news, a far-right political movement is taking hold right now in France. Over the weekend, the National Rally Party there won really big in their first round of voting for the French National Assembly.
Well, Fox 17 News' Christine Frizzau sharing why some say there are lessons to be learned in the U.S.
There were celebrations all across the country. France's far-right National Rally Party dominating Sunday in the latest round of voting, following major wins in the elections for European Parliament just weeks ago.
Demagogues and nationalists on the rise is bad for our nation, it's bad for Europe, and it is bad for the place of France in Europe and in the world.
It prompted President Emmanuel Macron to call for snap elections in France. He said, for clarification. What's clear now is a party started by Jean-Marie Le Pen, who was openly racist and garnered support from Nazis, now has a chance to rule in France. Those supporters today argue it has been reshaped by his daughter, Marine Le Pen, who's made it more open, but still driven by two central tenets: fighting crime and immigration.
Since the Arab Spring and the Syrian civil war, you've had a huge outflow of immigration or people leaving the Middle East, many of them trying to go to Europe. In the case of France, it's a lot of people coming from Africa.
There have been reports of mounting worry about a loss of culture in France, as well as frustration about the economy.
We've had a president that for 7 years made a lot of promises, communicated a lot, maybe a bit too much, in fact. And people are now disappointed with the fact that those promises were not kept.
Here in the United States, multiple polls have shown the border or illegal immigration as a top issue for voters. At a time, millions of migrants have come to the country and have often been allowed to remain, impacting border towns and big cities alike. There have been warnings from some political analysts that while Europe and the United States are different, that some lessons can be drawn about voter frustration regarding the inability to properly deal with the mass migration happening on a global scale. In Washington, I'm Christine Frizzau.
Just ahead, obstacles on the trip back home, why NASA insists 2 astronauts, including one from here in the mid-state, are not stranded in space.
Hey there, I'm Fox 17 News This Morning anchor Erica Glover, and the 4th of July just 3 days away, which means millions of Americans are gearing up, including firefighters. They're reminding everyone to practice.
In science and technology, we still don't know when Boeing's Starliner spacecraft will return to Earth.
Well, as Fox News' Madison Scarapino reports, NASA insists the 2 astronauts on board the International Space Station, including one from Mount Juliet, Butch Wilmore, are not stranded in space.
This is the Boeing Starliner's first test flight with astronauts on board. Its return back to Earth has now been delayed several times. The mission began on June 5th and was only supposed to last about a week. NASA says it's still sorting out problems with the spacecraft's thrusters and some small helium leaks. But NASA is stressing that the two astronauts, retired Navy captains Sonny Williams and Butch Wilmore, are in no serious danger. Jose Hernandez spent 14 days at the ISS in 2009. He says time went by way too fast, and issues with new spacecrafts are not uncommon. He says the astronauts are staying busy at the International Space Station and likely enjoying the extra time in space.
If Mission Control Houston called me up and said, hey, you got to stay another week, maybe 2 weeks, man, I'll be doing my space happy dance, because I said, yes, we're going to be spending more time, more revolutions around the world, more hours in space. That's so cool.
Engineers are using the extended time to study the Starliner's issues so they can prevent future problems in space. NASA says that overall, the Starliner is doing well in orbit, so if there is an emergency, the spacecraft can return to Earth. Here's an update from NASA Friday.
I want to make it very clear that Butch and Sonny are not stranded in space. Our plan is to continue to return them on Starliner and return them home at the right time. We'll have a little bit more work to do to get there for the final return, but they're safe on space station.
NASA originally said that the Starliner can stay at the ISS for 45 days, which would mean a late July return. But after testing, NASA says that that time window can be extended. In Atlanta, Madison Scarpino, Fox News.
Well, today was a really nice day. If
It was.
I don't know, anybody that had any outdoor plans, you know how good it was today, but it's about to get hotter and also more humid too as we head on into the next few days. Tomorrow we're in the lower 90s. Wednesday is going to be the hottest day, I think, upper 90s.